1 year ago, I joined the 5 a.m. club. I stayed consistent with it for about a week, at which point I ditched the 5 a.m. part, but I kept everything else the same. So the typical morning routine that Robin Sharma teaches in the book, that's what I stayed consistent with over the span of a year. In this video, I'm going to summarize the 5 a.m. club and the basic teachings that Robin Sharma shares within the book, as well as I'm going to share my own personal experience implementing the principles throughout the span of the year. If you're not interested in the summary, you can click here to jump ahead, but if you are interested, I'll tell you all about this poorly written allegory. So the 5 a.m. Club is a self-help and self-development book written by Robin Sharma. He is also the author of The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. In the book, Sharma tells the story of two people who are changing their lives through the teachings of the Spellbinder. The Spellbinder is just basically some guy with a ton of wisdom and who basically just has his shit together. The Spellbinder preaches the importance of actually waking up at 5 a.m. and following the 20-20-20 principle. The 20-20-20 principle is the first 20 minutes of your day, you're supposed to do something that makes you sweat. So this could be running, it could be yoga, just something to get your heart rate elevated. After that, you go through 20 minutes of self-reflection. So during this time, you can journal, you can meditate, or find some other way that you kind of better understand yourself. And thirdly, you do something to grow your mind. So you can choose either to read, you can choose to watch a documentary or listen to a podcast. The basic idea here is that most people end up stagnating in life because life gets too busy. People don't actually make the time to exercise or learn or grow in any way when they get bogged down with their job, with their kids, etc. But by waking up at 5 a.m. and carving out an hour each day of self-improvement, you can see dramatic changes over the span of your lifetime. So a quick note on the writing. I love self-help books. I am all for corny shit. I eat it up. But this book is a little bit over the top even for me. Every single scene that Sharma writes about has some sort of butterfly that's flying into the horizon or a flock of dolphins that are jumping into the sunset. It's all just so over the top that it actually took away from my enjoyment of the book. And I love this shit. Despite me not actually enjoying the writing, what's most important is the actual content within the book, which I do think is solid. So that's just me. I'm a hater. If you're thinking about reading this book, I would still tell you to go ahead and read it. But that's my opinion on the writing. So when I first started implementing the 5 a.m. club, it was a struggle. Waking up at 5 a.m. is not my forte. Mind you, I'm sure I could have stuck with it and made it a habit of mine. Like I know that I could have, but the cost associated with actually waking up at 5 a.m. wasn't worth it to me. Generally, with my schedule, I stay up a little bit later. So waking up at 5 a.m. is just inconvenient. So what I did is I took the principles of the book and I altered them slightly to better suit my life. Regardless of what time I had to wake up, I would always wake up an hour earlier than that and then make sure that I actually stuck with the 20-20-20 principle. For the first 20 minutes of my day, I chose to do yoga. Now, I think if you aren't an avid gym goer, doing something involving weights might be a better option here, but I go to the gym quite often. Doing yoga has always been something that I've wanted to do, but it's always been something that I've left on the back burner. And this provided me an excellent opportunity to actually delve into yoga and experience a lot of the benefits. The other thing that I would sometimes swap out yoga for was a run in the morning. I found that doing yoga too frequently, it almost burnt me out. Sometimes I'd wake up and I just would have no motivation to actually get out of bed and put in a good 20 minutes effort. So I started to switch it up a little bit, and I would encourage you, try switching things up and see what works for you. But I found a balance between yoga and running. I'll do yoga for about 3 months at a time, then I'll switch over to running for a month and then go back and forth. I found that that was optimal for me. For my second 20 minutes, what I decided to do was journal. I didn't know how phenomenal journaling was until I actually experimented with it this year. So I've always seen myself as somebody with a good gauge of my thought processes, and I thought that I had a pretty objective view of myself, but actually writing my thoughts down on paper taught me a lot about myself, and it actually provided me a tremendous opportunity to grow. Because in the morning, when you're full of enthusiasm and when you just finish your yoga, that's when you're feeling awesome, and I would write down things that I would want to do for my own personal development in my journal. And as soon as I wrote them down, they became real. That almost motivated me to take action that I otherwise wouldn't. Recently, what I've actually done is now I've shrunken my journaling down to 10 minutes and I've introduced something else called Getting Things Done. Getting Things Done is basically just a planning form to make sure that I stay on top of all of the things that I want to get done and that nothing kind of falls through the cracks. So I found that 10 minutes of journaling complements very well with this. I'll make make a video on getting things done soon, so hopefully you can learn something from that as well. But the third 20 minutes of my 20-20-20 formula, I would spend reading. And now 20 minutes reading every day, I can't say enough positive things about this. So I did some quick maths earlier, and I figured out that an average reader, which I describe myself as in terms of the pace at which I actually read, reads about 300 words per minute. So reading 300 words per minute over 20 minutes should equate to 6,000 words per minute. Sick. And the average adult book is 90,000 words. So this would mean that if you implement this as I did, you'll read a book every about 15 days, which means that you'll read 24 books a year just by reading 20 minutes in the morning. Now, hopefully this inspires you to read a little bit more, and the stuff that you're reading compels you to read more than just the 20 minutes every day. But if you're looking to become a voracious reader, this is a great place to start. Now, one more confessional I have, other than not actually waking up at 5 a.m., is that I didn't follow the 20-20-20 principle every single day. I also used another habit building technique that I learned from Matt D'Avella. I'll link to his channel in the description box below, but he likes to follow something called the 2-day rule. So basically, if Matt has an off day and he doesn't follow through on one of his habits, that's no big deal. But he will never allow himself to fall short of a habit 2 days in a row. Missing one day is missing one day. Missing 2 days is the start of a new habit. So I found that actually allowing myself this little bit of leeway and helped me actually stay consistent over the year. So did I ultimately join the 5 a.m. club for over a year? Debatable. But what I did do is I took the teachings that Sharma presents in the book and I molded them to better serve me in my life. If you give the 20-20-20 principle or the 5 a.m. club a go, which I highly recommend that you do, I would also recommend that you find a way to make it work for yourself. You don't need to follow everything exactly to the T. Try to find what is beneficial there for you and use it in a way that will actually serve you. If you're looking for more tips on how to actually implement habits and stay consistent with them over the long run, I highly recommend that you check out my habit building course right here, and I'll see you in the next video.